At least 18 people are dead in Nova Scotia, as well as the suspected gunman, pardon me, after a weekend shooting rampage that now has the RCMP investigating 16 different crime scenes across multiple communities. The victims of the shooting include a veteran RCMP officer, healthcare workers, a volunteer firefighter, and an elementary school teacher, among so many others. So how is the community coping? Lenore Zahn is a Liberal MP for Cumberland-Colchester, which is the federal riding where the shootings unfolded. She joins us from Truro. Hi, Ms. Zahn. Good to see you. Thanks for making time for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm holding up. It's very difficult, especially as more of the names come forward and who the people were that were sadly victims in this just awful tragedy that has taken place here in our beautiful little quiet corner of the world.
How is your community doing? I know just the way you described that, there are so many people who live there have described it similarly. So saying how close-knit it is, right? How small and close-knit. What are people telling you there?
A lot of people are hurting right now. A lot of people had reached out to me in the last few days wondering how their friends or family were faring because they couldn't get hold of them. They either lived in Portapique or in Wentworth, for instance, and they said that they just couldn't get hold of them. They were trying everything, Facebook, phone, and then they'd heard that the houses were on fire. And then this morning we found out that, in fact, in a couple of those cases, the folks were not, they were deceased. So it's been really, really hard just following along with my constituents as we find out the details. And, the fact that some are teachers, a teacher working in the prisons and VONs. It's really, really, really sad.
We've also heard a number of people who live in the community express their kind of disbelief and shock, right? It's the magnitude of the crime is one thing, but for it to happen in a community like yours, are you feeling some of that shock?
Yes, although to be honest, I mean, I've lived in cities and I've lived in small little towns, and I know that violence can happen anywhere. And sadly, when somebody does something like this, human nature is human nature, and it will show up when somebody is sick, or if they are angry, or they want to control things that are out of their control. It doesn't matter where they live. It can happen anywhere, and I think that's what this shows.
Did you know the suspect at all? My understanding is you didn't know the victims, the ones who have been named yet. But
no.
Did you know the suspect?
No, I'd never heard of him before either.
Okay. As well, we've heard from a number of people in your community who are dealing with all this, obviously, against the backdrop of what was already a very extraordinary time with COVID-19. That prevents them from getting together to talk about the victims, to mourn their loss. What kinds of things can the community do you think?
Well, to be honest, a lot of us have a great social network on Facebook. Many of us we don't do Twitter very much. Some people never. And so we do reach out a lot over Facebook. And in a situation like this, there's a group that's a community group that has set up a Facebook page called Colchester Supporting Our Communities. And they're going to have a vigil, a live stream vigil on Friday night at 7 o'clock. And they're welcoming anybody who wants to join that page to join in. There'll be music, there'll be some great artists, and they'll also set up a fundraising opportunity so that people who want to donate to help the families perhaps prepare for funerals or burial rites, or however they're going to deal with their loved ones. This money will go to help them and to help the living family members. But I'll tell you, one thing about love and kindness and compassion is it goes across the waves. It goes across the airwaves and the miles. And so a lot of us are saying we need to just reach out and let each other know that we love each other and that we're together in all of this. And here in Canada, we've been hearing from a lot of Canadians, and we're so grateful for the support in our tiny little Nova Scotia, surrounded by the sea. And we say thank you so much for reaching out to us, and please continue to do that, because I know many of the families and the communities really appreciate it.
Well, we sure are thinking of you and everyone in that community right now. Thanks a lot, Ms. Zahn. Appreciate your time this
Thank
evening.
you.